Liverpool 2, Fulham 1. Another excellent, majestic performance and comeback from Liverpool. For a long time now, we have all, including many, many Liverpool fans, criticised Jurgen Klopp's men for conceding too many chances. Elite, they concede too many chances. We've all said that. They've conceded the first goal far too regularly for them to be elite. We've said that. And let me contextualize elite here. I'm talking about being able to win Premier Leagues, being able to win Champions Leagues, or having multiple trophy-winning seasons. They're just not quite there. There comes a time, though, where you have to ignore. There comes a time, there comes a point with certain teams, with certain managers, Liverpool, I believe, being one of them, where you ignore the normality, the norm. They concede the first goal so regularly and come back and win that it, by definition, has become sustainable for them. Only once in their last 31 games have they not scored a goal. They seldom draw or lose at home. This team is still in its rebuilding stage. It was the best team in the world 2 to 3 years ago. It fell off from those levels slightly, and they're in their process of trying to get back there. Their football at times is liquid gold. It is majestic to watch. It is entertaining. It is fast-paced. It's electric. The fact that we all know there's still levels to come from this Liverpool team, their inevitability to come back in games, their never say die attitude, the fact that the way they win games, the sort of ebbs and flows of the game, so consistently come out on top, to be top of the Premier League, 1 foot now in the Carabao Cup final, through to the next round of the FA Cup, cruising in the Europa League. They're a frightening, scary, and inevitable team. And that inevitability of how good they are cannot go unnoticed. Their mentality, I believe it always derived through Jurgen Klopp. As a Man United fan, it pains me. As a Man United fan, it frustrates me. As a Manchester United fan, it winds me up to high heaven about how good they are. And the sobering factor of this, the sobering factor is that I still think there's a level or two more for this team to go. I truly believe that. And as a rival fan, it's sobering. My mind has been changed, and people often call me out for you're a flip-flop, or the other side of it from when it comes to Liverpool. You don't give my team enough credit, Terry. You don't give my team enough credit. I felt as though a team that concedes the level of opportunities that Liverpool seemingly do, a team that concedes the first goal as regularly as they have done in the last 12 months, at some point you're going to come a cropper. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with that saying, but you come a cropper. Basically means you get caught out eventually. And I know there's kind of flaws in this team. I tweeted something earlier and people were like, did you watch tonight? How can you say that about this Liverpool team? I'm just looking at the evidence. They keep winning. They keep coming back. There comes a point where if you keep defying the odds of, no, that's not sustainable, that's not sustainable, that's not sustainable. This is just Liverpool. This is what they do. You score, we'll score more. It's working. It's working, and they're going to get better than this. Defensively, I still think over the next 12 months, with more purchases and a certain amount of players getting a bit older, they're going to become an even stronger team. But I stand by it. I hate saying this. This Liverpool team is giving me the feelings that I had back in 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, when Liverpool were, in my opinion, for a time in that 3 to 4 year period, the best team in the world. Between 2019 and 2021, I think they were. Between 2018 and kind of 2022, 2023, they were up there. They had one season where they kind of dropped off a little bit. And even then, they were coming back towards the end of that campaign. This Liverpool team is on its way to being one of the best teams in the world again. And by the way, we're only going back nearly 2 years, and they almost won a quad. As I say, they haven't fallen off for a long time. But I think because of last season, there was this view that, I mean, I remember doing the shows on Straight Facts, and people, multiple co-hosts are saying, I think Klopp's finished. I think Klopp's done. The question mark was, can he rebuild? He can. And the fact that there are so many things to still criticize and ask for improvements on, that should worry you if you're a rival. If you're just going, nah, I don't care about that, I think you're a fool. On individuals tonight, look, Curtis Jones again, he is becoming an out-and-out Liverpool player. And I don't mean someone who can play a bit part. Curtis Jones is becoming someone that can influence his team week in, week out as a starter. Yes, it's the Carabao Cup, but it's against good level Premier League opposition. And he's been doing it a lot recently. Standout performance tonight from him, from a starting individual. Young Bradley at right back. For a long time now, Liverpool fans have been saying, get us some backup for Trent. Again, I don't think he looks out of place in any way, shape, or form for a young man. Give him more game time. Nurture this man through. He can save you some money in the transfer window to invest elsewhere. He's good enough. You can see it. I speak about this all the time with young players. It should only take you 1 or 2 games of watching them to go, there's a talent there. How good they become is another conversation. But there's a talent there, and he should be nurtured. You could see it. He's touch, he's passing range, he's positional sense. He has a physicality for it. Excellent. I also want to shout out tonight Darwin Nunez. Although he didn't score, I think he got the assist for Gakpo's goal. I didn't go and check, or was watching it. I think he did. I haven't gone and checked to make sure my eyes saw the right thing. But I thought he came on and was just brilliant again. Other than getting that goal, and I can't believe that's the save. The save to stop him was absolutely out of this world. But I thought that Darwin Nunez came on and just gave such a great account of himself. I've been saying for a long time now, yes, I'll banter at times when he misses chances. Yes, I'll kind of get on him at opportunities. As a Man United fan, of course, I'm going to do that at times. Although I like to be professional, there are times where I just like to be a football fan. I think Liverpool should stick with this guy. Genuine. I get you guys get frustrated and you'll view your club very differently to me. It doesn't impact me if you give him time and patience and it doesn't work out. It does you. I understand that. Something in him. And do you know what you don't want to do? You don't want to let him leave. And then he clicks into gear with his goal scoring somewhere else. And you think, oh my God, what have we given away? What have we done? What have we done? Why couldn't we get him to do that? Because everything else about his game is just brilliant. And I really think at least one more season, that man should be afforded in a Liverpool shirt. If you do get rid of him, as a Man United fan, I'm going to be quite happy. Genuinely. I thought tonight he demonstrated his absolute quality again. But overall, this comeback, another comeback in the last 12 months or so, goes down to none other than Jurgen Klopp. There's a few things I see him do on the sideline. And we spoke about this so much recently on the terrace. I get and I understand that certain clubs have a certain reaction to negativity. Real Madrid wave the hankies, they boo, they smash up your car in the car park. You know, they come and knock at your front door and tell you that you're shit. That works for Real Madrid. That's a Real Madrid way. But I think it's relatively unique to them. And I'm probably exaggerating a little bit on purpose. What's Jurgen Klopp doing when his team are missing chances, but they're playing well? He claps them. You might go, but then he's clapping. Come on, everyone, keep your heads up. That there is excellent man management. He isn't ripping. He does rip into them at times, but he's far more encouraging than he is a sort of hairdryer treatment. And I think we've moved away from that. I think people have changed. I don't think this generation of football players can handle the hairdryer treatment on such a regular basis. And he does such a good job of that. And look, a lot of people are going to turn around and say that it's only the Carabao Cup, it's only Fulham, it isn't that great a comeback. It is. And there's been multiple of them in this last year or so. And as I've stated, it's unsustainable. Maybe you can say that the first 2 or 3, 4 times, not with the abundance that Liverpool have done it, not with the amount of opportunities that they do concede in games, but still come out on top. Still come out on top. Woodsy here says, Nunez is loved by us, Terry. He's our chaos. I think he's loved by some of you. I don't think he's loved universally enough by Liverpool fans, but I understand why. Terry, the reason I love you is you're unbiased. I am I have to be. It's just my job. Yeah, it's my job. You can't run a neutral fan channel and not be unbiased. If you do, this is advice to anyone who's running one that isn't. Your channel will flop. Your channel will flop if you're the sole main presenter of a channel that is trying to attract multiple fans and multiple clubs. If you're biased about their clubs, it'll flop. You have to. And whoever created anything that they want to be a success and then purposely done a bad job, it's crazy. Salah, Mbappe, Diaz, Bernardo, Hoyland, Doku, Saka, Osimhen, Martinelli. Wow, the Prem next season. Listen, if Mbappe goes to Liverpool, we'll have that chat, Micah. Nunez fouled to put it to bed. Please put it in the net. He didn't foul to put it to bed. It was a ridiculously good save. Sometimes you've got to credit the amount of times. Let's flip it, Omar. Flip it for a minute and just look at it from this point of view and see how you feel. Whenever Alisson pulls off ridiculous saves, what do you say then? My goalkeeper. My goalkeeper. Why, when another goalkeeper pulls off a freak save, do you not go, wow, what a save? Answer me that. Just take your emotion out of it. Put your feet, like standing somebody else's shoes and look at it. I get his other games right. If he'd have missed a target there, yes. But he did everything right. He did everything right. It was just a ridiculous save. How unlucky for Nunez. Man had 3 shots on target, 1 assist. Someone said he had 2 assists. Did he pass the ball to Curtis Jones for Curtis Jones' shot? I don't necessarily consider them assists in my eyes, but it might. Yeah, it is considered an assist. They're the weird assists, aren't they? Where you're just squaring it and someone does all the good stuff and deflected. But it is what it is. It is what it is. Isn't it amazing how that's an assist, even though it was a nothing pass and then a deflected shot? But if you do a crazy bit of skill on the left, thread the most delicate ball through 7 players, but it just touches the toe of one of those 7 players and you score from it, the assist gets taken away. They've got to really look at some of the stats, because some of them stats are a madness. Like, imagine not getting an assist for that. But there we go. Morton here says, penalties aside, Nunez has been involved in more league goals than any other player, a Liverpool player this season, including Salah. Is that true? That's an interesting stat. I wasn't aware of that. Look, we're going to bring out G and man like Ram to have their say on tonight's comeback. And remember, it's only halftime. It's going to be an excellent second leg now. I think I suppose the only disappointing factor would maybe be Liverpool might have wanted to have gone into the with an extra goal, but we'll see what the boys have got to say. G and Ram, as ever, welcome back to the terrace, gentlemen. Congrats on the comeback. I want to go to yourself first, Ram. You considered that first goal, but another game where you dominated, another game where you created ample chances, you came back, you scored the goals. Liverpool just looking inevitable as ever.
Yeah, man. I mean, look, the most important thing with these results is getting the win and getting that lead at the second, going into the second leg at Craven Cottage. Ideally, like you said, right there, I would have loved us to get a third goal, make it that bigger cushion, but I will take a 2-1 lead. At the end of the day, I wanted the win, and we got the win. First half was very lethargic, very poor. Passing was dead. Overall play was pretty much non-existent. The first goal we conceded, I think Kelleher should have done better, in my honest opinion. I think it was right at him. I think even a semi-decent keeper, in my opinion, would have done better with that. And look, I hold Kelleher to high standards, so I think Kelleher should be saving that, in my honest opinion. The second half, everyone's decided to start to perform at a certain level. Nunez and Gakpo both came on and did their thing. Obviously, Jones, man of the match, in my opinion, very good in the midfield. But overall, even though Conor Bradley was really, really good, I think it was a standout that I think we really do miss Trent. I think missing Trent was a key factor in all this. Like, no one can deny Trent's technical ability is amazing, like passing, shooting, everything. He's just got the whole repertoire. But today it showed like times where we could have gone a little bit direct. We didn't. Times we could have driven with the ball. We didn't. And normally he's the guy that's really making things tick going forward. So that was a clear sign to see. But at the end of the day, these next couple of games without those 4 players, without Salah, without Trent, without Endo, without any, even Soboslai, I'm going to take whatever win that comes our way. Even if it's like a 2-1 scrappy win or if it's a scumbag win, I'm taking it left, right, and centre, man.
G, from your point of view, you do have Salah missing, Endo missing, Trent out. You conceded really and truly through to by a mistake than anything else. How impressed were you with the concentration, the performance, and comeback from your boys?
You kind of said it before about even me, who's always been. I always get on to Liverpool just in terms of how we play, the chances that we give up. You saw in the game, Fulham probably should have been 2-0 up before we've even scored. But it almost seemed like with most games that, and I have to give credit to Klopp, even though, you know what I mean, I've said what I've said about him. It just seems like this season, they just seem to know at all times that we'll just score. At some point in time, we'll score a goal. Whether it's in the 80th minute, like against Arsenal, we beat them 2-0 on the weekend. Whether it's 90th minute, Trent lost, like when we played against Fulham and we beat them 4-3. It just seems like these guys don't really seem to panic as much, you know, kind of thing. Like how another team might do so in the same kind of situation. Whereas this season, we just seem like it's okay. Yeah, we're 1-0 down, and yeah, we'll just keep going. We'll keep going, but because, you know, Fulham, they weren't even necessarily having so many shots in terms of, if we look at the stats, and I know there's a lot of stat merchants out there, but when you actually watch the game, you'll literally see it. Like, they were getting themselves into crazy opportunities. As I said, they should have been 2-0 up. You know, Reed should have blatantly crossed the ball in and they, you know, tap in 2-0. Maybe it's potentially a different game, but it didn't happen. We move on. And then once we move on, it just seemed like we were like, okay, you know what? That was the biggest wake-up call of the game, because the game could have been put to bed, really and truly. Well, not put to bed, but it could have been done by that point, and Fulham would have just locked up shop and then, you know, continue to move on from there. But we just have this professionalism mentality. I hate the word mentality monsters. It bugs me, but maybe that is there. You know, whether that's coming just from Klopp, or maybe the players are actually pulling their fingers out of their asses now, and they've actually said, you know what, we can't keep far-arsing around. We actually have to, you know, put in, you know, the effort ourselves, whether it's a deflected goal or whatever it may be. It just seems that luck is riding with Liverpool at this moment in time, and long may it continue, man. Long may it continue.
I think it was telling today, like Van Dijk, this game wasn't great, and Konate had a lot better.
Yeah.
But we, like you said, ride our luck. If we can ride our luck as much as possible and we get them wins, I don't care. I really don't care.
Of course.
Because it's been happening this whole season, man, and I'm gonna keep taking whenever it comes.
I get, as I said in the sort of opening of this, maybe a year, 13, 14 months ago, I've been talking about this for a while now, about Liverpool conceding too many chances. And I used the phrase earlier, I thought you guys by now would have come a cropper, in the sense of, I didn't think you'd keep getting better until that was fixed, because how good you are at defending, how much you keep the ball out of your box, the goals you don't concede, etc. Conceding first is a horrible habit to have as a team that wants to win the major trophies. But you keep overcoming that and you keep progressing and keep getting better. There comes a point where you don't need to rewrite all your thoughts and beliefs around football. Most teams that concede first are not going to win as regularly as Liverpool. But you're almost the exception rack that is kind of breaking the rule on that, to a point where, I don't know about you as a Liverpool fan, but when I watch you as a rival and you go a goal down, unless you're away at the Etihad, away at the Emirates, maybe away at Tottenham this season, I don't ever feel like you're going to lose. Genuinely, as a rival watching, I just think they're going to score in a minute, aren't they?
I mean, I don't always have exactly the same confidence, but we've only lost one game in the league this season, and you know those were in dubious circumstances. We lost one game in the Europa League, so you know, even whether you believe it or you don't believe it, and I'm sometimes I'm more glass half full fan than I'm more glass half empty, and especially when you lose goals, late in games, and with the Fulham game, I think we played Fulham at home, and it just nothing was going right for us. But then we somehow managed to pull out, and yeah, I mean, like G said, like the whole mentality monsters thing. I don't think this team have the same mentality that we had when we were our absolute best. But some of these players are young. Maybe this is the way they learn. Maybe this is the way they develop. And we keep taking the points. We keep getting the wins. And I'll take it, man. I'll take it because we made hard work of it today. It wasn't the best performance, and we were huffing and puffing a little bit, but we did enough, and that's what you need to do.
You certainly did. Sam, what did you make of it tonight?
I do apologize for my internet right now. It's a little bit going over the place. But tonight it was one of those games you have to get the win. I'm glad we didn't get a draw or even a loss, because what it does for the next game is that it has Fulham have to actually try and play against us now. They have to try and come out against us, and that will leave us a little bit more space to actually come in behind. I know Racky's shaking his head, but Fulham have to.
I don't think they will. They're going to do the same thing, though. They're going to do the same thing, and they'll probably wait until the 60th, 70th minute, and then they'll probably go for it if they have to. I guess.
Fair enough, but even if it's the 70th minute, that he still gives us space to go and then score. That's always with us, and we have this crazy stat. Like after the 70th minute, we scored how many goals? After that is it's quite a mad stat. I kind of knew this from the beginning of the season. Like actually, let me not lie, it's gone better how I expected it from the beginning of the season. This team, I've always said this. I understand we concede chances. But if you can keep the conceding goals in each game low and just outscore the team, then you, with the way the season is moving, especially with Man City and Arsenal, how they've got their flaws. I'm not saying Man City have flaws in the sense of they're a bad team, but their injuries and stuff like that. We can do good things this season. Yes, this team is still not complete, but if this is the that we've got, or a team that is still incomplete, then I'm very, very excited for what we do when the team is complete. You get what I'm saying? So the mentality is there, man. I've seen us. I know people said it's unsustainable, but it gets to a point where it's just like, this is just kind of us. When we go 1-0 down, just not keep it like 2-0. And if 70th minute onwards, we're bound to score. We're literally bound to score. I know the Curtis Jones shot was kind of lucky, but listen, this is just us now. This is literally just us.
It is. And look, you've lost 3 games all season, 2 in the Europa League, but to be honest, they didn't really matter by then, did they? It's one of those. They're not. I don't think they're games that you guys care too much about. And then outside of that, it's one other defeat, and that was on the end of September. There comes a point where, of course, losing one real competitive game all year that mattered. How is that not sustainable?
On that game.
It doesn't make sense at all to say that. I've got some super chats here. First one says, all this hype just to be second best Liverpool story.
Well, at the moment, we're not
second best. Time will tell, man. Yeah. Time will tell.
I'm going to say this. I don't even think he's a City fan saying that, which is very weird. But this here says, Klopp's in-game results changing subs second to none. Would you agree with that, Ram? Klopp's ability to change games is right up there.
I mean, his in-game management and his in-game tactics, whenever we have needed it to come to the forefront, has been really good. Newcastle away, today, Wolves away. Like, there's been so many incidences where you can see that Klopp has actually changed the game through his tactic and his substitution. So the one thing that we gave so much criticism for Klopp last season was his in-game tactics and his subs. Now he's doing it, so kudos to him, man. Like,
I think
that's what he did. One of the best managers in the world.
I think his in tactics really showed against Arsenal in the FA Cup, because the way his people talk about the changes that he made. If you notice in the Arsenal game, he actually made 2 tactical changes in that game before he made his subs, and that actually kind of changed the game for us, as it kind of nullified Arsenal a little bit and gave us more chances. So yeah, one thing I do have to, and you know, I love Klopp, and I've sung his praises, but one thing I do criticize a little bit is that the way we start games, it's a little bit lethargic, but that can get better over time.
There's a call out for me here that says Terry mentioning how silly GA can be, unless of course it's a Bruno penalty or Rashford tapping. Well, I never said any kind of goal shouldn't count as a goal. You tried it there, Paul. I love the super chat. You tried it there, brother. I know you're probably laughing. I said, isn't it crazy? There a 3-yard sideways pass that has a shot that deflects and goes in as an assist, but someone who does an amazing skill throws a brilliant ball through 7 people, but because it takes one little nick and deflection off one of those defenders, and then your teammate taps it in and you score, that doesn't count as an assist. I actually think that should be an assist as well. Like, that little deflection has played no real part in it. I also think winning a penalty should give you an assist a lot of the time, because you've done something to create a goal scoring opportunity. But yeah, I didn't say that GA was silly. I just said I don't understand how one is and one isn't. I say make them both assists, my friend. This here from Ali is interesting. It says, watch Gravenberch off the ball. He is lazy. Do you think he's lazy?
I think he's got that Berbatov Ozil gene where they just look lazy on the pitch when they're doing certain actions. Because I said the same thing when I was watching a watch along earlier on. I said he always looks like he's being lazy, like he doesn't look like he's doing anything off the ball. I'm not saying he isn't. If there's someone who's probably going to show me the stats of how much he runs in a game and stuff like that, could potentially be high. But when you do watch it, he does look lazy. I think he's just one of those. He's one of those type of players, man. I think he serves a purpose. He's got a role in terms of what he can do. I like Gravenberch as well. I think he's one of those kind of players. And when I looked at that midfield, I was a little bit worried because that midfield doesn't necessarily scream any real defensive type of players. We know McAllister, Jones, and Gravenberch doesn't really scream anybody who's going to be that defensive. I know McAllister's the 6, but he's someone who likes to be on the ball. Jones is someone who likes to retain possession. Gravenberch is someone who wants to drive with the ball. So I was a little bit worried, especially with Bradley there. I did want, Gravenberch to help him out a little bit more because he is the more senior player. He did all right. He did all right, but I do get that he does look a little bit lazy. So I can't even, I can't say he's lying there, to be honest.
I think the issue with Gravenberch is I'm concerned. Like, I just don't think he's been very good for us, and maybe like little flashes here and there. Like, he had a nice cut inside today and the shot. So you see flashes of not brilliance, but impressive or technique. But is in the general game, I think he's been pretty poor, man. I don't know. I'm a bit concerned.
I think G just put it perfectly right there. I think he's a kind of player that serves a purpose within this team. Like, I think the only problem that I have with him starting games is when it's up against teams like Fulham, because they play such a organized and defensive line, and he's the kind of player that loves intense games where it's like, I can run with the ball. That's why he was so good against Man City when he came on, because there's so much space for him just to run with the ball. Because his best attribute is carrying the ball. His ball carrying skills is almost second to none. But when it comes to a low block, he has no space to run. So he has to rely on passing it to other players. And he just doesn't have the vision or even the ability to take shots from long range. And he's a kind of player that serves a purpose. When it's up against the big teams like an Arsenal, City, he will be really, really useful. But up against teams like your Fulhams, your Wolves, possibly, and teams like that, it won't work with him. And that's where you say you probably play a Soboslai and Curtis Jones.
I got a lot of time for Gravenberch. I understand that he looks lazy, but sometimes as Liverpool fans, we're so used to Henderson, Wijnaldum, James Milner running up and down the place that you see somebody like this and you're thinking he looks lazy. He does have areas to improve, 100%, but he's only 21. I've got time for him. If I had time for Curtis Jones, even last season, I said,
you get quite a given time.
and he's improved. and has improved. Harvey Elliott has improved. I've got time for Gravenberch to improve as well. It's good because the whole team is doing well. So if it was like last season where the whole team wasn't doing well, and then you had Curtis Jones and Harvey Elliott coming in, and they're not really stepping up to the plate because they didn't really have time to actually assert themselves, then it's a different story. But because the whole team is doing well, Gravenberch does have time to maybe improve on this and improve on that, because we've got other midfielders that can do the job, like Curtis Jones, McAllister, and I'm sure it's like whatever. So I've got time for Gravenberch.
Steve, as an outsider looking in, how do you view Gravenberch and his time at Liverpool so far? I can't hear you, bro. You're not muted. Yeah, jump out and come back in again, my man, and see what's being said there. Yeah, I don't necessarily. Listen, again, you guys, I would think he looks all right in your team, to be honest with you. But at the same time, you're Liverpool fans, you're going to be far more nitpicky than me. Ray here says, guys, I like Nunez, but how much easier chances does he miss? His conversion rate is poor. Gee, what did you make of him today? Because he came on, he was excellent. Didn't get that goal, though. And it's almost, there seems to be a split of people that love his work rate, love his performance, love what he does, and they kind of let his goal slide. Others, it's just, you ain't scoring, we're gonna ride you for it.
I don't really look at Nunez as like a striker anymore. I feel like you're not good enough for me to start looking at you as a striker. And the way that we play, I don't know. It's like you play. You're like Trent. You are the right back in the team, but you don't do right back things. And I feel like that's the same with him. He's the striker in the team, but you don't do striker things like score goals. With the amount of chances you get, you don't score, nowhere near, enough. So I've just said with Nunez, I've just accepted that he's going to keep missing chances. He's not clinical. I know I heard you say about, his other parts of his game is good. It's definitely improved. I don't think it's brilliant yet. I think he's still got ways to go in that regard, but he's a threat. You saw when he came on, he comes on and I feel like Klopp's very smart in that. He always comes on and looks so threatening when Liverpool look the most lethargic. So really, if anybody comes on with the type of energy that he has, you instantly just see it. It's obvious. It's going to be human nature. You're going to notice someone who's doing that little bit more because the team just looked poor and lethargic in the attacking third. So when he comes on now, oh my days, Nunez is this, Nunez is that, and blah, blah, blah. Not to take away from anything from his game today. Got 2 assists. That's great for Nunez. Do you know what I mean? I think, again, just like Gravenberch, I look at him the same. You serve a purpose. I think he's a fantastic impact player. Don't think he's a starter. I think he's a brilliant impact player. When Liverpool needs someone to change it up if things are not working, that's the first sub I'd look at, is definitely bring on, Darwin Nunez, to kind of change things, because if he does start games and he's not really doing much, you're kind of left in a catch-20, catch-22 as to what you kind of do with him. So listen, man, Nunez is going to divide opinion. Like him, don't like him. It is what it is. I think you said it there right with the super chat. He's not universally loved here. Like, let's not do the lying thing. But he is definitely an effective player. Man can't lie about that at all.
The problem I have with this situation with Nunez is we paid a record fee for a Liverpool player, or 100 million euros, 85 million pounds, whatever. I know it's not all up front, there's installments and all that kind of stuff. But you pay that money if you're Liverpool for a top player, or someone who you think is going to become a top player. And I think that they've bought him to be a goal scorer. And I really hope, and I think a lot of Liverpool fans, we all really, really hope it works out for him. But I've got massive misgivings about him at the moment. We were chatting about this in the space the other day, right? And I don't always look at the numbers, because sometimes you need to look beyond the numbers. But out of all the players in the Premier League right now, his expected goals versus his goals per 90, he's not in the top 100. He's not in the top 200. He's not in the top 300. He's not in the top 400. He's not in the top 500. He's 510th out of 511 players. That is crazy, and
Right,
I
who's
hope it
bottom?
works for him. I hope it can be
Why?
turned around. Listen, he
Wait, say that again?
He was marginally below. What's his name? The guy at Chelsea. And
Nicolas
marginally-
Nicolas
and
Jackson.
Nicolas Jackson, I think, was like 509th, and I think Marcus Rashford was like 507th. But his expected goals versus his actual goals per 90, 510th in the Premier League.
Who's the guy?
That's
who's,
why-
who's the guy behind
Sorry.
him? Who's 5'11"?
It's what's his no, he's the guy. What's his name from Everton?
Calvert-Lewin?
Beto.
The thing is,
Beto.
but the thing is, these things can be skewed. These things can be skewed if you've played a very small number of minutes, right? Because you score a goal, you don't. If he's been out injured or whatever, but Darwin has played a significant number of minutes for us this season.
Yeah.
So it's not a small sample size.
That's what I said, Ram. I don't I don't look at him as a striker like that anymore, because I said, for me, he's just a forward player now. I can't put him in a bracket of, oh, you are a striker, because when you do that, that's why we all get mad. Because if we just said, nah, Nunez is the striker, and obviously we expect striker things, then Nunez is shit. Like, he's actually super shit. There's no way you can convince anybody that he is a good striker. Like, I'd put him at one of the worst kind of strikers that are kind of out there as a striker. But when we start looking at his all-round game, i.e. when he plays off the left sometimes, like what he did today in the position he plays, I think that's the caveat. And that's where I think the Nunez opinion, it goes both ways. Like, it might be exaggerated both ways. So the people who really think he's shit, I think they're doing too much. But then the people who think he's amazing, and if he just sorted out his finishing, it's always if, buts, ands, or maybes. Like, at the end of the day, you can only judge what you're seeing now. From what you're seeing now, the guy cannot finish to save his life. That's absolutely fine. So we then have to judge him on other aspects of his game. And I'm kind of with Rack. At the end of the day, you spend that kind of money. I don't expect to spend that kind of money on a guy that we thought, because nobody here knows what Klopp is thinking, we thought was going to be a goal scorer. We saw he scored 34 goals in the previous season. So now that he's come in, you are expecting him to score more goals. And the problem that I have with him is that it's not even the fact that you're not even scoring that many, because it's not like you're not scoring any goals. You are scoring goals. It's what Rack said. It's the expected goals versus what you're actually doing. If he was getting no chances and he was living off scraps, like at Manchester United, these strikers are always living off scraps, I totally understand. Because then you can say, there's the caveat, he's not really getting the chances. When he does get a chance, is it really a chance? Blah, blah, blah. At Liverpool, bro, you're getting so many chances. So this project, this kind of caveat of, oh, once he improves his... No. Let's stop doing that. Let's stop lying. Let's stop, babying him. The guy's not 17. He's 24 years old, turning 25 this season. Let's actually start judging him for what he is. He's not a good striker. That's fine. But he's a really good and effective forward attacking kind of player. So that's how I look at him now.
I think you had hit the nail right in the head, and a lot of people in the comments are a bit salty about it. I don't understand, because we're not asking a lot from like a 21-year-old. He's 24. Like, I want to put this into perspective. How old did we sign Fernando Torres? I think 23, 24. No. But that's the thing. But Rack, you said we spent 100 million euros, our record signing on the guy. I think we all expected him to be that complete striker. And the annoying thing about me is he has but I get it.
But being negative, there's a difference between negative and just looking at criticizing, and trying to be objective. We've all said we want it to work for him. I really want it to work for him. Because for us to become, because look, in the next few years we may lose Salah, we may lose Van Dijk. So we need people to come in and take up that mantle. I want Nunez to come in and take up the mantle that Salah has taken for the last 5-6 seasons. I would love that for it to happen, but
I think
right now I don't see enough evidence that this is actually happening.
I think it's the fact that he has the quality. He has the overall qualities. He's got the strength. He's got the height. He's got the pace. He's got everything. And the reason why he frustrates me so much is because he's shown qualities of being a good finisher. He's shown it, and he just doesn't do it on a consistent basis. And that's what's really frustrating, because he could be getting 16, 20 goals a season, but for some stupid reason, he tends to overthink stuff unnecessarily, even though he has the quality to do it.
He just don't have what his compatriot Uruguayan, what's his name? Cavani had. Composure. That's what
I
Cavani's
said that in the
renowned
last
for.
game.
Huh?
And I said that in the last game about composure.
Yeah, and that's what a Cavani has, and Nunez, he picks and chooses when he has composure, and even when he does score, sometimes it's a bit frantic. I've been a fan of Nunez at Benfica. Like I really liked him. Like he's a player that you want to like because of how much he does and how much he cares and all this yada yada yada. He's a team player, definitely, but look, the guy is who he is, right? He really is who he is. So, like I forget what one of the guys said. He's an effective forward, and I think you can have, if you know the depth that Liverpool have, you could probably afford to have it. But he's never gonna be that main guy. He's always gonna be a guy that you can bring off the bench and make an impact. That you know, he is who he is, man.
Can I just
if I had
can
the
I just
choice,
quickly
if I had
say
the
something?
choice, yeah, go
Go on.
ahead, Sam.
Yeah, no, I think this is what's been annoying me lately. The
Mm.
people in some of the people in the comments don't understand negativity and actual fair criticism.
Negativity versus
Because I've
analysis.
been reading some of these comments and they've been really getting me annoyed. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm not a Liverpool fan. I'm not a true. Listen.
No,
shut
guys,
your
keep the
mouth.
comments up. I like it.
Listen.
Shut up.
It's like it's getting me. It's getting me. Not everything is going to be. Not everything is going to be all rosy. There are going to be some improvements. I've been one of the most positive Liverpool fans this season, and I still criticize in some areas where we need to improve on. So get it into your head. Liverpool won today, but there is some improvements that we need to make. There is some improvements on Nunez that needs to make, and that we are rightfully getting frustrated because we paid for this guy. We expected him to do something as a striker, and there's certain aspects that he's not doing. Cool, but there's other aspects, as G said, that's kind of like his all-round game. It's actually okay. It's actually helping us in certain areas.
He's a
So
team
please
player.
get it into your heads.
Can I remind people of something? When we worry about him costing us games, he actually has cost us games. He's won us games, but he's also cost us games as well. And I think it's worth the time and the analysis and the criticism. Look, I'll give him praise, but I'll have to criticize him as well. Like, he is a footballer at the end of the day. We can criticize what he's good at and what he's not. And he's a striker. And the main point of a striker, whether G wants to make him a forward or not, getting goals. And a lot of these Liverpool fans in the comments were with me when I said I really do miss Diogo Jota in the start of December. And now they're starting to say, wow, Jota's back and he's really doing his thing. I'm just saying.
Guys, keep up the comments and make sure you're smashing the like button. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done so already.
I don't. Yeah, listen. Listen. Everyone looks at football differently. I get that some people don't like it when a player they like is being criticised, or you're talking about the areas that they need to improve on. But I don't think anything you guys have said has been unfair about him. This here from Morton says Norway has a case about. Norway has a case about our. Darwin so bad. I think you meant to say Darwin there maybe, and they came up with this. Penalties aside, Nunez has more involvements in more league goals than any other player this season, including Mo Salah.
And again, this is where people rightfully say you can't just look at the statistics and make up your mind about a player. You just can't. You have to watch the game. Like, we get it that Nunez is involved in goals, but it's okay to demand better, people. It's okay, right? It's okay to ask for some of the basics in games. And the thing is, we're all saying that Darwin does some good stuff for Liverpool, but there needs to be more because of the price tag, because of just some easy application stuff. But the one of the worst things is that he's failing at actually, no, that's a different point. Like someone on the panel said, they've cost games. He's cost them games before.
Yeah.
And I think that's something reasonable to ask. Don't do that.
That stat is also wrong, though. That stat is
right.
also
Oh,
wrong.
there you go.
I mean, Mohamed Salah's got 14 goals and 8 assists. Darwin Nunez has 5 goals and 6 assists. So he hasn't got more goal. If you're talking about goal
Excluding
involvement,
penalties.
the
Excluding penalties. I think that's
How dare you?
How dare you do that? This here says you're all criticizing today's game changer.
You see, this is the. I'm going to start fighting fans because, like,
I didn't hear criticism. I heard I like things that he's doing. I don't think he's this though, or I want more of that. I didn't see that as criticism per se. This here says Darwin barely played 30 minutes, 2 assists and 3 shots on target. And the man to criticize. What about Diaz and Jota for today's performance? I mean, what I will say is, but I specifically asked a question about Darwin Nunez.
Just about to say.
It was specific to him. So
Just I wouldn't know about Gravenberch.
Yeah, it was a specific conversation about him because he was really good today and he was excellent today. And what more do you expect from him? So it was a conversation, Curran, around Darwin Nunez, because I personally think he was your game changer today. That's why he was shouted out for that at the beginning. Nunez has to lose the ponytail to start finishing. Maybe.
Keep the ponytail. Keep the ponytail. Keep the ponytail. I'm not superstitious, man.
Maybe it might be like Samson, isn't it? You know, cut his hair off and all his power goes. Like, you need to be careful. Curran here says crazy. Nunez had 3 shots on target. Leno stopped it well. He's just unlucky. I don't get what Jota has done today. Anybody? How about those shots?
By the way,
you know, Jota was all right. Jota played all right today.
You know, Jota won the ball back for when we scored our first goal. Like, Jota slid in to get the ball and then allowed Darwin to lay it off. He won the ball back. So there's one thing that he done. Also, he created his own chances as well. Like, look, he didn't score a goal, didn't get an assist.
He carried the ball well. He had lots of energy. He popped up in different spots. He turned and ran with the ball. Like, I thought Jota had a good game.
He created half chances for himself.
I'm not criticizing. I'm not criticizing Nunez for today's performance.
No,
I've criticized him. If you want to call it criticizing, or you want to call it analysis, depends on how you want to define it, right? But I'm just looking at what did I expect, or what did most people expect when we bought him, and what are we getting? I hope he turns it round. I don't really know what else you can say, right? But there's just been very little evidence of that so far. But I hope I'm wrong, and I hope he goes on to score hat trick after hat trick after hat trick, and we win the league, and he becomes player of the season. If that happens, no one's going to be happier than any of us.
I think Terry, you're seeing.
Apart from Terry.
You not even. I think Terry, you're seeing, and you probably see it as well. Obviously, you know, when people come on your show, you can tell with Liverpool fans, he is the baby of the team. He is the one that we cradle the most. He is the special player that we seem to Liverpool fans. I don't know what it is about Darwin Nunez. I have no idea why, but he just seems to be that one player that you can't even mention anything to critique. You would actually think this guy's a Ballon d'Or 5-time winner with the way that some people speak about him, because the second anybody here on the panel has mentioned even just little things, it just seems like it just goes into spiral. And I think that's always been the case with Nunez. But it's like I mentioned before, it has been both ways. The people who have criticized him, myself included when he first came, like, you know, it's gone a bit too far at times where you're like, come on, bro, he's not that rubbish, you know, kind of thing. But then at the same token, he's also, I don't think he's as good as people make out that he is, but he's literally there in the middle. And if people want to use the age thing, he is 24, turning 25. Maybe, as Rat said, he gets better. Maybe by the time his contract ends, we've then got a, you know, fantastic player. Whatever that looks like in the future, maybe we have that. But you can, if I wasn't a Liverpool fan, and I am, what you can see is that he is literally the baby of the team, you know, in terms of we always seem to have to shield kind of thing. And sometimes I'm like, a lot of you are very biased in terms of the way you speak about him, you know, back him to you, like, you know, to the ends of earth. But come on, man, we have to kind of look at certain aspects of this game and just him as in general and say for what it is, regardless of whether that means you're criticizing him. It doesn't matter, because I still back him. I still want him to do well because at my football club, but still back him.
I hear you on that. This here from Paul. Paul says Paul Scholes used to play 40-yard passes to average players who then played a 5-yard pass to get his GA up. football is so tapped now. I blame FIFA. I mean, listen, who was he passing?
Sounds
out
like
into
a you problem, Paul.
Yeah, I mean, Paul, who was on the wings for Man United was Scholes passing to that you're calling average? Beckham, Giggs, Ronaldo?
Gabriel Obertan.
Yeah. KJ there. I don't know where that came from.
I
What are you doing?
wanted to explain. He's not saying that Scholes was passing to average players. He's saying that Scholes used to do assists from 40 yards, and now it's average players going 4 or 5 yards.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is he saying that, or has he said it in the comments?
Yeah, I think he's. No, I think he's saying that.
He's saying Paul Scholes did the bulk of the work essentially, and then some player who was
Gabriel
less
Obertan.
played 5 rounds.
I mean, I suppose, but then Paul, we're kind of agreeing with each other. When I see Bruno Fernandes play a 5-yard pass sideways, 35 yards out to Rashford, and Rashford bangs it in the top corner, we wish. It's an assist, but that's not where I go, whoa, Bruno. What I'm talking about when I mentioned earlier is I've also seen Bruno. There was an assist that he didn't get last season, and I want to say it was against Fulham. Great work on the left-hand side. He passed his ball, and it was eventually put in at the back post by Christian Eriksen. But the pass was amazing, but because it slightly clipped the toe of a defender, he didn't get the assist. And for me, that's a much better pass that warrants an accolade. Equally, again, this is where stats don't tell the full picture. If you make a wonderful pass across the 6-yard box, none of your teammates get there because they don't time their run right. That doesn't even count as a chance created. So there are things that should be added to the statistics. And maybe some things, listen, 5-yard sideways passes at least, and then screamers, I think they should maybe remove them as assists. I don't see why that needs to be one, but I suppose that makes it overly complicated then. Anyway, but thank you, Paul. I appreciate the super chats, bro. Klopp needs to carry over the tactics from game to game. Should have gone same lineup as versus Arsenal second half. Our set pieces are crap, is what Nate says here. Thank you, Nate. People who criticizing for today's performance are really on their last brain cells. Nunez is what Curran says here. Thank you, bro. I do agree, by the way, Curran. This panel, all brain dead barring me. I appreciate. I agree, Curran. I agree. I think the stats the super chat was looking for was Nunez has the second best minutes per non-penalty goal contribution out of any Premier League player this season. The only player better is Jota.
I hate stats like this because the goals are goals. I couldn't give two shits if you don't score penalties, if you do score penalties, because without the penalty, you wouldn't get the goal. I hate the stat about non-penalty goals. That's probably one of the worst attacking statistical stats you'll get out there. A goal's a goal at the end of the day. Like, let's just...
Also on that, and again, this is taking nothing away from Darwin Nunez. The bit about those stats that I find not worrying, but I always like to look into is most has the second best minutes per goal. So then what I like to do is look at their stats, and the transfer market's good for this. So he's featured in 19 games, but he's played 1,119 minutes in the Prem this year. Divide that by 19 games. See that he's averaging only 58 minutes on the pitch. So my question would be, why is he only playing on average 58 minutes per game? That's because he's either not starting because the manager doesn't fancy him, or he's getting taken off early, one of those two things. So if he was playing more minutes, you could argue his goals would go up. You could also argue that his goals per minutes played would drop if he played those extra 30 plus minutes per game. So I think it's a good stat, and I think he's had a good season so far. But this is the thing. Like, all these boys on the panel are asking for is him to become more clinical. And I guarantee you, if he was being more clinical and had more composure, he'd be playing more than an average of 58 minutes per game. It'd be more 80 to 90 minutes. If you look at for instance, if we just look at Mo Salah, to give you an example of someone that's playing probably nearly every single minute of every single game, he's also featured this season in 20 Premier League games, but he's played 1,744 minutes. Divide that by the 20 games. He's averaging 87 minutes per game. So I totally get where you're coming from. I don't think he's having a bad season, but you've got to look into those stats and ask questions, I think.
Terry, I think if he was more clinical, I think that he would be on around about 20 to 25 GA, and we'll be talking of him as one of the best players this season. I'm talking about player of the season. That's how mad it is.
You know what it is, right? The issue is none of us are sitting here ranting and raving and like saying Nunez, this, going crazy. We're trying to have a civilized discussion, and people will disagree, and people may have different feelings, and that's absolutely fine. We're all here to. No one knows everything about football apart from Terry. And so we're all here to kind of discuss and share our opinions. The issue is that I don't think not many people thought we were going to be in a title race this season, and somehow we find ourselves in one. But there's a looming figure that's just over our shoulder called Manchester City, who are just getting a couple of their best players back, and if we want to get to if we want to get over the line, then I think we're probably going to need everybody firing on all cylinders, especially with Salah, missing a few games. Like, we want it to work. It's not like we're saying we don't want it to work and get rid of Nunez, but it's going to be tough with City, at full strength. And if anybody thinks that's not the case, I don't know where you've been for the last 5 or 6 years, because they aren't going to stop. So if the only way you're going to match them for relentlessness is to be as relentless. And to do that,
what I've actually heard from you boys today is happy with Darwin today. I want more of this in more games frequently, not just from the bench, because maybe this is what he becomes. Maybe he becomes your Ole Gunnar Solskjaer from the bench, impact player. That wouldn't have been what you expected from your record signing. But if that's what he becomes, that's what he becomes. I didn't necessarily think you guys were ripping into him. It was just, well done today. This is what I want more from him. I did want to ask you guys before the end of the show, your thoughts on Curtis Jones today. I felt another game where he's starting to look more and more and more like a proper Liverpool player.
100%. I'm so happy that I didn't give up on the guy. I was so patient with him. And look, I said this on multiple streams. Curtis Jones is a very rare player when it comes to the tactical side of things, because he's so versatile in the way he plays. Like, he's very tidy on the ball. His close control is amazing. Probably the only thing that he needs to work on is his end product. And now he's starting to get GA, and getting GA in the most important time. Talk about this goal that he got, the equalizer. Then we got the goal, I think the second goal against Newcastle to put us ahead again. Like, he's starting to get that clutch gene back into him. Well, if he had it. But yeah, what a really, really good player. And I think everyone's starting to realize how important he is to this team. And I think he's starting to get a little bit of confidence and starting to get a little bit of self-belief about him as well. So yeah, credit to him, man. Credit to him, because a lot of people had a lot of hate for him. And thankfully, I wasn't one of those people. And I think he's really grown from it, and he's become a proper player, and not even a bit part player. We're talking about starting for Liverpool as well. So big up to Curtis, man.
People were saying, sell him, get rid of him, don't give him a chance. He's not a Liverpool player. And this is why you just, especially with the youngsters who come through the Liverpool camp, you need to give them a bit of time. Like I've said before, I don't. When a player comes through the Liverpool academy, I don't have like super high hopes from, because I just want them to play and see where they land. Like I said, back in the day when United had youth players coming through, if they ended up being squad players, that'd be fine, because you had your Wes Browns and your John O'Shea's and all that kind of stuff. But then you supplemented that with other world-class players, and they all formed a coherent squad. Curtis Jones now is showing, if you give a player time, especially if he's a very young player, because people were writing Curtis Jones off when he was 17, 18. That's what I didn't get.
Right, do you know why?
Now he's a bit older. He's had a bit more time. He's maturing, and his performances are excellent.
It's because of that goal that he scored against Everton. People thought that was the norm. And I was like, no, that's not the norm. Yeah. He's not going to score bangers every single day of the week. Like, he's not like that kind of player. And then people were saying, like, oh, he hasn't developed anything. He's tactical. He holds on to the ball too much. He doesn't give the ball away. I kept on saying he doesn't give the ball away. And it's such a huge asset to a team that wants to keep possession. And look, man, he's proving his doubt is wrong. And I'm hoping that he could keep on going for the rest of the season, because he's a massive asset to this team going on to win the big trophies. People saying that I wrote him off. No, I didn't. I was one of the few people that was backing him.
So go on, Steve.
Yeah, biggest compliment I could say about Curtis Jones is he's coachable. He's coachable. He's very, very tactically. He just, he's on it, man. He's on it. If you tell him to do a role, he'll do it, and he's starting to show up with some goals too. So it's always a nice bonus. Yeah, the guy's really I'm not like his biggest fan. I think he's a good player, but maybe some people do get carried away. But I think he's a good player, and he looks like he belongs in that team. To be honest, he's staking his claim. Something Gravenberch really hasn't done outside of maybe a game or two here and there, but he's staking his claim, Curtis Jones. But yeah, he's a good player, man. I mean, any of our, Terry, me and you would take a player like that in our squad all day, every day, the way he's playing.
I'll take a lot of players.
And Liverpool already have a good squad.
I'll take our Luton players right now, to be honest with you, bro.
I was going to say,
it's going to, sorry, D-Town here with another amazing donation. I want to thank you very, very much, bro, for that. He says Darwin deserves criticism, but there have been improvements. One less GA currently than he had the whole of last season. The protection from fans of him comes from hope and fear for rivals. That is if he figures it out, he's finishing, he would be a top player. The D-Town, I agree with everything you've said there. I think he is better so far this year. He's adding more output to his game. I think there's still more that he can produce. I still believe that you guys should be giving him the rest of this season and the whole of next year. I do believe there's a play. You just don't want to give up on him too early. But you are right. Liverpool fans are probably the best I've seen across the social media era of football protect their own and protect their players. I don't think any of the boys on the panel tonight have destroyed him, though. I think it is fair criticism of areas that he does need to improve on. But I do know a lot of Liverpool fans don't like the criticism of their players being public and definitely not in front of rivals. But I do hear that. And thank you for that donation, my brother. That's so generous. I appreciate it. Paul here says, my broader point about GA is that people think Saka is better than Bernardo because he a better GA. But if you watch the game, it's clear Bernardo is a better player. GA is tainting our opinions. Top man, Terry. Thank you. Look, I think I spoke about this at large. I think it has and it hasn't. And what I mean by that is, you are right. Just having GA doesn't necessarily make you better than somebody else with less GA. Do I think Zaha is better than... bad example. Is St. Maximin better than Rashford overall just because he's a better dribbler and he's got better technique? Like technical abilities? No. The GA and the match-winning performances, the trophies that Rashford's helped win, and ability altogether make him a better football player. So, yeah, sometimes the stats do help. If St. Maximin had the same output and statistics as Rashford, he's better than Rashford then. But there has to be end products at the end of it. Another element of stats that kind of gets overlooked is people go, back in the day, we rated top players that didn't have great stats. In terms of attackers, that's never been the case. Every top attacker that you could mention that's legendary status, you look at their stats and they're good. I remember when, God rest his soul, Maradona died. First time ever I went and looked at his stats. They're amazing. And that's why Maradona and Ronaldinho and Pele and the like were who they were. They had the most amazing technique and ability, but they also scored and delivered all the time. And that is what separates the good technicians from the good from the great players, I think. So I think there is a place for it, but I do agree with you. Some people take it a little bit too far. Another
crazy GNA thing that you could just kind of the whole theme of stats, you can twist it. Harvey Barnes actually has only one less goal than Bukayo Saka has. I looked that up the other day.
Who?
Harvey Barnes, my boy, Harvey Barnes. He's on 152 appearances for both Newcastle and Leicester. He has 35 goals, I want to say. And Saka's on something like 142 with 36 goals, something like that. So I do like Harvey Barnes. I'm excited for when he comes back from injury, but I don't think he's as good as Bukayo Saka.
Well, also Harvey Barnes is 26 and Saka's just turned 22. So there's 4.5 to 5 years in age difference between them. So again, I think there's so many factors that go into it. Stats are important especially the goal outputs for attackers. The reason why I would say on technical ability, Eden Hazard's better than Mo Salah. But Mo Salah delivers. I think his efficiency, he scores and or assists in 27% more games. So when I weigh up their ability and their consistency of output, I'm picking Mo Salah because when it comes to being a football team, I can take less ability if I have more output. But what I wouldn't do is look at somebody with good GA who's got awful technique and can't operate in my system and go, I'm just taking them because there's more goals and assists. I think there has to be a happy medium when it comes to those things. And then enjoyment, that's a whole different category of fish. Someone here says Saka's 23. Well, I'm just looking at his Wikipedia here. I swear it's he's 22. He's 22. He's born in 2001. That makes him 22. He's going to turn 23 this year. Unless my maths is off. Unless Wikipedia is wrong. Born in 2001. Yeah. He'll be 23 this calendar year. Another super chat here says Milner said Darwin will be frightening.
And we've all said the same thing. If coming off the bench, he is a massive asset. And he terrifies defenders because of his pace and power.
To be honest, I don't really care what Milner says about Nunez. Even if we just go back to what we were speaking about with Curtis Jones just quickly, I think when we speak about Jones and people wanted him out and stuff like that, I think, to be honest, they were right to think so. Like, Jones didn't look like he was going to make the first team. We can't sit here and rewrite history. We literally all watched. This is what I say about watching games of football. We watched the games. He didn't seem like he was going to be good enough because the Liverpool team was fantastic back then. We were so good that we never really rotated. So you're like, where does this guy even fit into the team? And so I do understand, of course, being patient, but also context of everything. Liverpool had such a shit year last year that, to be honest, towards the end of the season, just anything looked better. What he did was so fantastic. He took his chance, though. Once we changed the tactics, we changed the style, and he then came into the squad, he took that opportunity. Curtis Jones could never, in his wildest dreams, think about getting to the Liverpool team beforehand because it was so good. Gini Wijnaldum, Jordan Henderson, Fabinho, even Milner, plotted in there. Where was he going to go? Sadio Mane out on the left wing. Where was this guy going to go? So when people say, yeah, but that's the point. That's the context I'm adding is that he was never going to make it into that team. So now that Liverpool were obviously poor last season, this season we're in the Europa League as well. Again, where we can play players like your Konzas, your Curtis Jones, your Bradleys, your Becks, and people of this kind of ilk. They can now show what they're about. If we was in the Champions League, I don't think you'd probably see hardly any of these guys. But context, take your opportunity. Now we can start talking about, you know what? I think that, Curtis Jones is a really, really good player. And now someone else coming into the context of this team now has to try and dispel him. Whereas I don't think he would have had that opportunity beforehand if Liverpool were just some 10% better than they were last season. I don't think we'd probably see him.
I think also it's just, if you look at it tactically, like when he came through as a player, he was a number 10. He was a maverick in the youth team. That's how he played. Like, he played as a guy who wanted the ball and wanted to be that guy. But when it comes to a Jurgen Klopp team, he had to be part of a cog, and he just never was that kind of player. And it was such a big difference. And I think because he was such a maverick, he had to almost change his entire game so that he could be a part of the Jurgen Klopp team. And I think that's where the context had to come through, where it's like he's adjusting to what he's like playing as a Jurgen Klopp team.
It takes time sometimes. It really does. Super chat here says Rashford, Saka, and Eden Hazard combined career goals 330. Salah's career goals alone is 334. Well, there we go. Yeah. And again, I think football isn't. Listen, football is about ability and entertainment and skill in part, but it's also about efficiency, consistency, and output. And we all know playing. Listen, we all had mates. I don't know about what kids do these days, but because I don't spend a lot of time around kids, strangely enough, we used to play knockouts, and we used to play a game called Knockouts. Anyone play that as kids? Knockouts, or I think a lot of people call it Wembley Knockouts. We just called it Knockouts in East London. And there was always a few guys that played with us who, when it comes to knockouts or playing, do you guys play headers and volleys? Yeah. So we played headers and volleys, knockouts, double knockouts, all these things. And there was always someone that was like the best. But yet, whenever it comes to trying to play for the school team or playing for a Sunday league team, they were nowhere near as good. When it comes to being in a team and a structure, and there was a way of playing, or more rules to what was going on, they weren't the same individual. The same thing I've watched a show about this in the States. There are some people that are amazing at I'm going to get the wording wrong here, but like street basketball. and playing
Yeah.
like hustling, whatever, doesn't mean they can do that same thing in the NBA and vice versa. So sometimes think
Dunk contest. A dunk contest.
I think dunk contest. But I've seen like people just. I watched the thing about these guys playing like street basketball, and it was a great conversation. I don't really understand basketball. I understand the game. I understand the rules of it, but in terms of the intricacies, I don't watch it. So I sometimes think we get a little bit bogged down with just the stats. I think we also get a little bit bogged down with his skills are so good. That means he's a better player. I think football's a little bit more complicated than that. Look, I want to thank everyone who's tuned in tonight. Amazing comments from the from you all. Thanks for all hitting the like button. Super chatters, every single one of you is amazing in every single way, shape, and form. G, Ram, I know Rack's now gone, but thank you. Sam and Steve, thank you very much indeed. Our current back again, actually. He says, be patient with Nunez, then he'll be our goal scoring machine. By the way, Nunez has more goals than Gakpo, Jota, and Diaz. Listen, I'm sure these guys support him as much as you do, Current, and I appreciate all your super chats tonight, my friend. You're an absolute star. Until next time, people, take care. Goodbye. God bless, and we'll see you all again soon.